Thank you very much for joining the live stream or for watching the recording. Today's topic is about the difference between the employee card and the blue card. And I'll try to settle the question which one is better. Although, spoiler alert, there might be no best answer to that question because each of them might have some advantages and some disadvantages compared to the other. But we'll go through that in details in this video, and maybe you let me know in the comments what you think, which one you think is generally better. Let's right now dive in, and as you know already, feel free to ask questions during the live stream which are related to the topic, so the employee card or blue card and the differences. If you have other questions, I'll be happy to answer them as well, but only in the joiners area after this live stream is finished. Then I'll immediately go to the joiners area and we'll do live Q&As there. But let's dive into the topic. So an employee card and a blue card are very similar residence permits, let's say. They're both types of a long-term residence permit with the purpose of stay, employment in the Czech Republic. They're also both like a plastic biometric card with your fingerprints, photo, digitalized signature, all that. They also both allow you to work for one specific company in one specific job in one specific company. I don't know what's going on with my brain or tongue today, so sorry if I'm mumbling today. Don't know what's going on. Anyway, that's usually where the similarities end. Because then if you go into details, there are very many differences between these two cards. And let's first start with the qualification requirements, because that's kind of the big difference there. And then we'll go deeper into the differences or advantages of a blue card over an employee card, and then vice versa, advantages of an employee card over the blue card, because there are also many of those, contrary to the general opinion that the blue card is only better than the employee card. It's not like that. So now, qualification requirements. The employee card can be used for any position, any salary level, any education level. No limitations there other than the legally allowed things. So you cannot go below the minimum salary in the Czech Republic, for example, obviously. But if you're a cleaning lady, if you're a software developer, if you're a director of a multinational company, if your salary is the minimum salary in the Czech Republic, or like 3 million crowns a month, doesn't matter, you can use an employee card for that. Blue card has two main limitations. One is, or requirements. One is that your education level must be at least bachelor's degree. There are some exceptions, but generally it's like this, that's at least bachelor's degree. And your salary must be at least 1.5 of Czech national average salary. At this point, which is mid-October 2025, the requirement is around 70,000 crowns a month for the blue card. But this regularly changes on the 1st of May of each year. They change the numbers, so stay tuned for those changes. Now let's go into the advantages of a blue card compared to an employee card. Let's start with that. Many people think, and generally you can say, that the blue card is better, but only better in the perspective or in the terms of like a stronger type of residence permit with more advantages in general. But the blue card is also not advantageous in some cases, and I'll cover that in the second part, where we'll talk about the advantages of an employee card over the blue card. But now, advantages of the blue card over the employee card. First, no quotas at Czech embassies, which means that regardless of your nationality, you can always get an appointment and actually apply for the blue card, which is not always the case for an employee card, where there are quotas, and often very low quotas, as low as 0 people a year from some specific countries for some specific positions. So blue card does not have this. So basically anyone who meets the requirements can get an appointment for a blue card, which is an amazing advantage. Second, 3 years of validity. The standard employee card has, or the maximum validity of the employee card is 2 years. The maximum validity of a blue card is 3 years. So this is obviously an advantage, especially if you also look at it from the perspective of getting the permanent residency. Because if you get a blue card for 3 years, then you basically just extend once and you've reached the 5 years and you can apply for a permanent residency. If you have an employee card for 2 years, then you have to extend once to reach 4 years, and then you need to extend again to reach the 5 years. So for a blue card, there is just one extension to get a PR. For an employee card, there are 2 extensions. So another point for a blue card here. Then easier change of employer and a bit longer unemployment allowed, which is slightly changing because the employee card is getting there as well, but still the blue card is in the lead. And yeah, let me just make a note. Tom Godot, yeah, Lepší, sorry, I just had an idea, I wanted to mark it down. So, so for the blue card, the rules for changing employers are basically you just need to report the change of employer within 3 days to the Ministry of the Interior, but you don't need to ask for approval in advance or anything like that. Of course, the new position must have the vacancy number, so you must have the vacancy number. It's not like you don't need that, you always need it. But then once you have it, you basically just like report that you terminated one employment within 3 days, and then within 3 days from starting a new employment, you report that to the Ministry of the Interior, and you're good. From the unemployment perspective, if you've been here for less than 2 years, then you can be unemployed for up to 90 days or 3 months, which is now the same for an employee card. But for the employee card, it used to be 60 days. Now they increased that to 90, so not much of a difference there. But if you spend here more than 2 years with the blue card, then the unemployment allowed is up to 6 months. So that's actually a great advantage of the blue card. Another note, sorry guys. I mumble today and make notes, so it must be a very interesting live stream. Anyway, another advantage of the blue card are better conditions for family members, especially if you want your family members to work in the Czech Republic from day one. Then basically your family members can, with no delay, apply for the family reunification residence permit, which allows them to work in the Czech Republic, get employed freely. With the employee card, you need to wait for 6 months before your family members can get the family reunification residence permit, which allows them to work. It does not mean that you cannot bring your family members here. You just need to bring them under the family visa, which does not allow them to work. So another great advantage. Let's finish this topic, and then I will check your messages and try to reply those before we go to the next topic. Because the last advantage of the blue card in my list and in my opinion is easier movement within the EU, because the employee card, and especially some versions of the employee card, are specific for the Czech Republic, and I don't think even like all the EU countries have an employee card, but basically all the countries have a blue card. And that also brings advantages such as easier processes, simpler applying. You can also count years you spent in some other countries under the blue card towards a Czech permanent residency if you move here later on. So like the rules within the EU are more beneficial for a blue card than for an employee card. Let's see, we have a question from Mukesh. Sir, I'm living in Armenia from 2 years. Can I apply 2-year residence card from Armenia? I'm an Indian citizen. So if it's an employee card, let's assume so, then you potentially can, because Indians can apply only in the country of origin or in the country where you've been residing for more than 2 years legally. So potentially you could apply in Armenia, but you need to check if there are quotas or not. I don't know from top of my head, but I would say there are quotas as well. So the question is if it's easier for you to apply in India or Armenia, but you potentially could. Now, let's go to the benefits of the employee card over the blue card, because there are some as well. One, and very important, is that the employee card can be also used for part-time jobs, for part-time jobs, which means that even if you have you don't have a full-time employment, but you have 20 hours a week, or the minimum actually allowed is 15 hours a week, you can still have an employee card and live in the Czech Republic, potentially even move here. We haven't had too many cases of that, because that's kind of weird to come to the Czech Republic to work a part-time job, but we've had cases like that, and the ministry approves that. The minimum is 15 hours a week. And for that, you can already get an employee card. That's not the case with the blue card. Blue card requires full-time job and the 1.5 of national average salary. So this is one big advantage of an employee card. Non-dual version of the employee card. Sorry, just too many ideas in my head today. General, not for older. Okay, so non-dual version of the employee card. There is something called, the standard employee card is so-called dual, which means it combines permission to live in the Czech Republic and permission to work in the Czech Republic. So dual, because it has two purposes. But there is a non-dual version of the employee card, which serves only as a residence permit, basically, because it is usually issued if you have, for some reason, free access to Czech labor market. For example, you have a Czech diploma. And in that case, if you're applying for a non-dual employee card, the process is very much simplified. You don't need a vacancy number, you don't need to prove your education. So the whole process is easier, less documentation, and faster approvals. Blue card does not have this version. So for a blue card, you always must advertise the job. Even if you have free access to Czech labor market, you always must have the vacancy number. So that's a great advantage of the employee card over the blue card, the non-dual version of it. Then obviously bigger selection of jobs, because I have the statistics here from the labor office. I prepared, guys. So if we look at the statistics for blue cards, if you go to the website of the labor office where the jobs are advertised, there were just a couple days ago, 3 days ago, I think I got this statistic. There were 987 vacancies from 570 employers. So let's say 1,000 jobs from 500 employers for the blue card. So 1,000 jobs, 500 employers. So two jobs, two vacancies per employer, basically. But compared with an employee card, there were 56,768 vacancies and 16,493 jobs. So 17,000 employers. So 17,000 employers and 57,000 jobs, which is 57 times more than jobs for the blue card. And for employers, hard to count, because that's a lot, like 500 compared to 15,000, 17,000, that's quite a big difference. So also way more jobs available for an employee card. So especially if you lose a job and you try to find a different one, the blue card can be pretty limiting, because first you still need to meet the salary requirement. You cannot go below that, even if you said, okay, I just want to stay here, I cannot find a blue card job, so I just want to work at McDonald's. You cannot do it with the blue card, because they would have to pay you 70,000 crowns in McDonald's, and it is not even a qualified position there anyway, whatever position you would be doing there. So that would not work out. For the employee card, or with the employee card, you have way more flexibility from this perspective. And one important thing is that if you report the change of employer late as a blue card holder, the blue card can be cancelled. You have 3 days to report it. You report it 5 days after you've changed the job, and the ministry could cancel your blue card if they wanted to. I haven't seen that happen, but we usually report everything in time anyway, but it could. The law says that the blue card can be cancelled if you report the change of employer late. That does not apply to an employee card. Not even to the non-dual version where you also just have to report within 3 days. That does not apply there. You could get fined, but it cannot be cancelled. So these were the differences between an employee card and a blue card. I've already put a link to our article where we go into details of this to the description. So if you want to read more about that, please check the link in the description of the video. Also share it with someone who may be asked a similar question. And if you need any help with getting the blue card, getting an employee card, changing employers, changing from one to another, let me know. We'll be happy to help. So maybe to sum it up somehow, which one is better? I would say that generally speaking, a blue card is technically better. It's a stronger residence permit for longer, like with longer validity, more rights within the EU, more like advantages for your family members. So generally, a blue card is better. But in specific cases, depending on like who you are and in general the flexibility, I would say the employee card is better because it definitely gives you way more flexibility in terms of different jobs you can do and finding new jobs, kind of like playing with your residence status. So generally speaking, blue card, great, but in specific situations, employee card, in my opinion, is even better and more flexible than the blue card, because for the blue card, there are limitations. There are big advantages, but limitations. For an employee card, there are not really that many limitations, and there are more opportunities if you actually get here though. So let's see, long-term residence permit fast. I want to apply work visa or what? Or long-term residence card fast. Well, there is no fast in Czech immigration. All the processes will take at least 4 to 6 months minimum. So there is nothing fast in Czech immigration, but an employee card or a blue card might be a good option if you can apply for those, which you need to check with the quotas, because I'm pretty sure that in Armenia there are quotas as well. Potentially better than in India, but I would need to double check that myself. So thank you very much guys for watching. I will now go to the joiners only area and I will be doing live Q&As there. So if you want to speak with me one-on-one and like have me answer all your questions, join. $8 a month. You get 8 live streams like this with me directly. Do it now and I'll see you in 1 minute in the joiners area. And then I will see you again Thursday, Monday, until the end of the world. Bye bye.